Well, I know water is a pretty basic topic. I think we all know we need to drink more water. And sometimes, we can tune out because we're probably thinking we already drank so much water to begin with. We really don't need an hour Bible study on the importance of water. But as I was looking into this, there were so many mental health benefits to drinking water. There was obviously physical benefits. And most importantly, it actually really helps us spiritually as well. So that's why tonight we are going to delve into how to use water to our personal advantage. So I'm just gonna close the screen real quick because my brother's trying to log on here, and he actually has a wealth of information in regards to hydrotherapy, hot cold treatments, things like that. So I asked him to come on tonight to help us as we discuss because he's a lot more practically minded than I am. So he actually utilizes a lot of this in his own life as well. So since we're all here, let's just start with prayer. Dear Jesus, thank you so much that we all have enough water to drink. We know that in many parts of the world, clean water is a major problem, and it's something that not a lot of people have access to. So at this time, we just thank you for the blessings that you've given us, but we ask that you be with those individuals as well who struggle for daily necessities. Please help us to better appreciate water and help us to treat our bodies as a living temple, to just nourish it with good foods and with water, because we're going to learn tonight water does so many things for us physically, mentally, and spiritually. We ask that you just bless this meeting, Lord. Please show us what we need to do in our own personal lives. In your precious and holy name, amen. All right, we have a few more people coming on here, and then I'm going to pull the screen back up. So thank you for your patience. Sometimes when it's been a week, it takes me a long time to get the screen back up and running again. So here we are, how to use water to our own personal advantage. And the goal of the study is to just learn more about the 8 laws of health, which are taken from the Bible and also from Ellen White in Ministry of Healing. Because if we abide by these 8 laws, we may still get sick, but it's going to be very difficult to be sick if you're eating the right foods, if you're exercising, if you're getting fresh air and sunlight, proper sleep. Of course, random things could still happen, but you have a pretty good chance of living a better quality life. So tonight, as we talk about water, we all know the basics. We all need to drink more water. So we're not really going to focus on that, but we're just going to remind ourselves that the focus is on Jesus, how he's the living water. We're going to look at some water statistics, particularly here in America. We're going to go over the overall benefits of drinking water, the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual benefits. And then we're going to look at easy tips and application. What are some things we could do with hydrotherapy, hot cold treatments? If we don't like to drink water, what are some things we can do to maybe drink a little bit more water this week? So that's what we're going to be looking at in these next 45 minutes or so. But we want to remind ourselves that water is something that's necessary for life. It takes up about 75% of our body. And that's why Jesus oftentimes described himself as the water of life. So in John 4:14, he says, whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give them will become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life. And when he describes salvation in Isaiah 12, he says, drink freely from the wells of salvation. So water is a beautiful thing in scripture. And that's why Jesus, one of the many reasons he may have described himself as the water of life. So first question on the screen, and then we have a comment from Ellen White, and then we have a second question as we delve into discussion. The first question is, why do you think Jesus often described himself as the water of life? There's no wrong answer, but what are your thoughts on this? Why do you think he described himself as water?
He can cleanse us. Water cleanses us also, but in a different way.
Great point. I never thought of that. Yes, he washes us clean just like water does. That's a great point.
Our bodies are made up of 98% water.
That's even more shocking because I had thought it was a lower statistic, but 98%, that's even higher. So more incentive for me to go drink water.
I think it emphasizes his our necessity of him, because we need water. We can survive X amount of days without food, but we can survive far less time without water.
we would probably never think of going a day without water. Like what Shakira said, we need it to survive. So we should never think of going a day without devotions or without prayer. And Ellen White paints this beautiful visual of how important water is. And obviously, we can freely apply this to our relationship with Jesus. But this is from Ministry of Healing, page 237. So if someone would be willing to read this quote, and then we will talk about the question at the bottom.
I can read it.
Oh, thank you.
Ellen White, page 237, Ministry of Healing. In health and in sickness, pure water is one of heaven's choicest blessings. Its property is health. It is which God provided to quench the thirst of animals and man freely. It helps supply the necessities of the system and assist nature to resist disease.
Thank you. So what benefits have you personally gained from drinking water? We all need it to survive. So what are some benefits you've noticed in your own lives from drinking water?
I stay well hydrated.
Mm-hmm.
Takes no calories.
I get more energy sometimes when I drink it, probably because I'm dehydrated.
It also helps fill your stomach up so that you're not quite as hungry for the food, solid foods.
It also helps our bodies metabolize the food that we eat. You know, without water, it's like, you know, you're not getting, you know, you're getting the food, but you're not getting the benefits of the water that you need to synthesize it.
I work as an orthopedic nurse, that's a bone nurse. And people that have had surgery usually get narcotics and that constipates them. And so they are very upset when they are constipated. And the first thing I say to them, how much water have you had today? It's like they don't even think about that. It's something that we really have to educate ourselves about drinking more water.
When I drink water, it keeps my blood sugar level low.
Yeah.
Because I'm a diabetic and it keeps my sugar low.
Yeah, and the kind of water we drink is really important. When I first came to Florida, I got this it's like a thermometer kind of thing that you get from Amazon, and it tells you all the impurities that are in your water. And I checked my tap water, and there was 1,400 impurities in regular tap water. So I went out and I got different purified water to check it out, and some of them were as low as maybe 10% impurity. So I went and chose the one that had the lowest percentage of water. There's actually one that's 0, but it's very expensive.
So do you purchase your water or do you get a filter? What do you do?
Yeah, I purchase it.
Okay.
I got a water cooler and then I have it delivered.
Okay.
I have a purifier, water purifier.
Okay.
Put tap water and it purifies the water from the tap.
Oh, okay. I'm very curious because I'm still drinking tap water. So I'm listening very intently here, knowing I need to make some changes.
No.
Tap water is very dangerous in Florida.
Now, is there a certain like filter that anyone recommends? Or what water brand do you use, Richard?
It's called Clear Water. I think it's right, just like right down the street from me. But you could go to these machines and they've got the you know, the electrolytes and everything. Like I said, you need to have one of those meters, and I'm sure they got meters now that'll actually show you exactly what the contaminants are. Mine just tells you that there is contaminants in there, but there's more expensive ones that will actually tell you what the contaminants are, and you want to get as least contaminants as possible. And a lot of people think distilled water is good, and distilled water is actually takes all the minerals and all the good things that are in water out of it. So distilled water is like a misnomer, thinking that good, but it really isn't.
Well, thank you for giving me some info on that. I'm definitely going to have to research it more after this because I've always heard tap water is bad, but I'm still drinking it and I need to not be drinking it. So thank you for giving me some information to go with. A benefit you guys may have heard about before from drinking water is a lot of studies have been done on different forms of cancer and the amount of water that people drink. And people that drink a regular amount of water generally have a lot less rates of cancer because they're always flushing those toxins out. So obviously the quality of water matters as well, just like many people just mentioned here. But if you don't want to get cancer, one of the things that you can start doing now is just drinking a lot of water, flushing those toxins right out. Now, if we look at America and we look at some other Western countries here, 75% of adults in America suffer dehydration. And when we think of dehydration, we probably think of a desert, people passing out, not able to function. But it's actually fairly easy to become dehydrated, particularly if you live in the South, such as Florida, but even up north. I mean, this is 75% of America in general who are chronically dehydrated. Germany has significantly less, but it's still 50%, 1 in 2. France, Australia, you know, supposedly we're some of the most educated countries in the world, but when it comes to drinking water, maybe we're one of the most ignorant because people even in impoverished countries sometimes are even drinking more water than we are. And we have access to a lot cleaner water than they have. So hopefully this chart is just a sober reminder to not be one of those 75% who suffer dehydration. Now, there's so many different reasons why you need to drink sufficient water, but as you can see, the majority of your body is made up out of water. So if you want better blood flow, if you want better skin, if you want better muscle growth and repair, if you want better eyesight, this is all directly related to how much water you're drinking. There's so many benefits of drinking water. Geez, are just 20 here. But if you have joint pain, lubricate those joints with some water. If you have a distressed immune system or you're getting sick a lot, drink a lot of water. Some people say if you have a sore throat, you know, drinking a very hot cup of water every 5 minutes, every 15 minutes, every hour might help. Everybody knows when you're not feeling well or when you have a fever, you know, some tea might help you out. Cold water actually is not really good for you. It takes a lot of energy for your body to cool it. So room temperature is actually best. Even super hot water. I do like tea, but really hot water is actually not good for you either. So technically room temperature is best. And you can actually easily get used to that in a few days, a few weeks. But like what my mom mentioned, working in the hospital, it really helps with constipation, particularly if you're on certain types of medications. Kidney stones. My husband suffered a lot with those. Drinking water, even with a little lemon, citrus, lime, something like that will really help with your kidney stones. Weight loss. Ellen White mentioned this like 100-something years ago. She said, when you feel like eating late at night, drink a cup of water, go to bed, and you'll be happy for it in the morning. And sure enough, you will, because sometimes people confuse hunger for dehydration. And like what Phil said, fill your stomach up with water. Brenda said it doesn't have any calories. It's good for you. It's going to flush out those toxins, but it's also going to fill you up so that you don't overeat or eat at wrong times. So as you can see, there are so many benefits to drinking more water. Like what was mentioned earlier, we live in a culture that is just obsessed with weight loss. I agree. I'm obsessed with it as well. So if water helps, let's do it because water may suppress your appetite. Some people encourage front loading. That means like before you eat a meal, you could drink a cup of water with like a tablespoon of flaxseed, a tablespoon of chia seed, and there's some sort of konjac root or something. It kind of expands in your stomach so that you're not as hungry. People that have done that have actually lost a significant amount of weight. A lot of modern diet magazines will say drink a lot of water throughout your meal, but that's actually really bad for you because it dilutes your digestive juices and it kind of bloats you out and it makes it harder for your food to digest because it has to drain the stomach of the liquid before it can get to the solids. So if you're going to drink water, maybe drink it like up until 10, 15 minutes before you eat and then wait an hour. I've heard sometimes it's optimal to wait 2 hours until you after you eat. I generally just wait 1 hour because I'm very thirsty. So your food will digest a lot better. You won't struggle with bloating, and all this energy won't be focusing on your stomach because your food will be digesting just fine. It also boosts your metabolism. It makes exercise easier and more efficient. If you've ever tried to exercise when you're dehydrated, it is laborious. So drink some water. All of these could contribute to results on the scale. Some people have lost weight simply by drinking more water. So there's many physical benefits to drinking water, but there's also mental health benefits. Anxiety and depression are at an all-time high here in America, and studies have found that people who regularly drink less water have an increased risk of developing depression and anxiety. The combination of dehydration, zapping the brain's energy, and cutting down serotonin production can increase depression symptoms. The same is true for anxiety. I noticed this with myself. If I'm getting all worked up or worried about something, I'm not saying water takes it all away, but water takes the edge off. It really does help fight mental illness. And probably most importantly, it benefits us spiritually. So I'm just going to share a little bit what I found from some more modern studies here. And then we actually have 2 discussion questions at the bottom. Traditionally, it was thought that a 2% or more body water deficit was thought to produce cognitive performance decrements. However, recent literature suggests that even mild dehydration, a body water loss of 1 to 2%, can impair cognitive performance. So they did a study on school-age kids, and they asked the kids to drink an additional liter of water over the course of a day, just 1 extra liter of water. At the end of the study, the children who consumed this 1 extra liter of water reported increased vigor, increased mood. They scored better on short-term memory, on motor skills, on attention, and on their visual search examinations. And it's not going to be any different for adults. If it's going to benefit kids just from drinking 1 extra liter, imagine what it could do to us as well. So according to this and other studies, what benefits are there to drinking more water? What stands out to you? What are some more benefits from drinking more water?
I'm aware of a few. Want me to talk about some or just briefly?
Yes. Hey, while you talk, I'm going to grab my phone because I don't want to go late on the meeting. So I'm listening in the background, but yes, share, because I know you've studied this a lot. So I would love to hear.
All right. I actually looked up some of this stuff about water prior to this, this Zoom meeting, and it's pretty good documented evidence-based studies on the benefits of extra water in your life. There was one study of 40, let me see, what was this? It was a Harvard study, 48,000 men, and it was just studying bladder cancer of all things, which is actually pretty common. My neighbor was just diagnosed with it, poor guy. And it notes here that each additional cup of extra fluid decreased your chances of bladder cancer by 7%, up to 50%. So drinking 1 extra cup of water can decrease your chances of bladder cancer by 7%. I'm sorry?
No, you're good. I think it was just background noise.
Oh, okay. There was another study.
The letter is not a new letter. I had that letter last year.
All right. No, sorry. What were you saying?
Sorry, were you talking to me?
No,
okay.
no, yeah. No.
There was, like as who was already mentioning, everybody knows water cleanses your body. It decreases your blood viscosity. It makes it thinner. It helps flush out toxins, essentially, whether it's cancer toxins or helps flush out extra blood sugars, helps flush out extra cholesterol. Whatever it is, it's a kind of a coverall medication. There was a study for 20,000 Adventist people, and it showed that they showed people who drank extra water, I forgot how much, had half the risk of dying from heart disease. And this is controlling all factors. So they attempted to balance the statistics for people who smoked, who ate, dairy or meat or these things, and just on water alone, people who drank a significant extra water had half the risk of dying from heart disease, just from water. So you have studies show that you have decreased cancer. Just per cup, your body notices it. Decreased heart disease. I know Ashley mentioned before. I was looking at a few studies recently, and it showed that children, many of us, I'm probably mildly dehydrated half the time. School age children were able to score significantly better when they added additional water into their daily regimen. Many children, many adults are mildly dehydrated, and it just showed that they were able to score a lot better on tests just by introducing extra water into their daily diet. So, I mean, there's a ton that can be said about these things, but I think it's pretty cool when these things can be documented with, these scientific studies that, tell us kind of what we already know.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love how science vindicates Ellen White, because in her day, people were drinking coffee by the potful. They were drinking black tea all the time. Soda hadn't been invented yet until probably early 1900s. And water sometimes was the beverage of poor people. So I'm sure she got a lot of ridicule for this. So I like how modern science is vindicating everything she wrote. So thanks for citing those other sources. That's why I always like to defer to you. I feel like you do a lot more research. So thank you.
Right.
So if we look at what water does for kids, it's going to do the same thing for us. So how will this help us spiritually? How does drinking water actually help our relationship with God and help our testimony for Jesus?
I think it's a really good point that has been made about like the cognitive function and performance, because if we, like the Bible says, faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God. And so if we're aiming to get closer to God, and we're studying his word, but we're not able to, we're praying, for the Holy Spirit to enlighten our minds, but we're not taking care of our bodies and our minds so that we can actually comprehend the Bible, then that is going to hamper our ability to understand what we're reading and implement that in our lives, and for God to really, not that God can't work with those who may not have optimal cognitive function, so to speak, but when we have the ability to take care of ourselves properly and we're failing to do so, or we're refusing to do so, then that I think is going to have a hamper or on our spiritual lives, and we're not going to be able to comprehend certain truths that we would otherwise comprehend if we were taking care of ourselves. In this case, drinking water and doing things that would enhance our cognitive performance.
Mm-hmm. A common complaint I hear is that Bible memorization is too hard and that we're just too old to do it. Another complaint I hear is Daniel, Revelation, and prophecy is too difficult to understand. And then a third complaint I hear is the writings of Ellen White are either boring or they're difficult to understand. And there might be a variety of reasons that people might verbalize that, but honestly, it might be maybe because they're dehydrated. Because when you're dehydrated, you're not going to want to push yourself. You're not going to want to focus on things that are hard. And maybe, I mean, I'm sure there's other factors involved, but maybe by just drinking more water, we'll be able to comprehend spiritual things that maybe were a little bit more difficult for us in the past. So other things can influence that as well. We learned last week about diet, the previous week about nutrition. Clearly from the life of Daniel, diet really impacts your cognitive abilities, but water does as well, like what Shakira shared with us. So try it this week. You probably all of you guys drink a lot of water, but just in case you're not, try drinking some more water and start noticing maybe if you're having a little sharper devotions, or maybe you're retaining things a little bit better. That might be thanks to drinking more water. So now we're going to make it practical. So hopefully these questions are not intrusive. I don't ever want to be intrusive, but it does help when there's a lot of practicality and we can get together and share, because I know a lot of us are very health conscious and health motivated. So the first question is, how much water do you drink? And then the second question is, what are some easy ways to get in more water during the day? So feel free to share how much do you aim to drink and what are some easy ways you get in more water during the day?
I have something. My job is I'm a nurse and I work with dialysis patients on the inside of hospitals, inpatient dialysis. And so because of that, I'm sitting next to a patient for 5 or 6 hours at a time. And unless I call and be annoying to the main nurse, I really can't have a bathroom break. And because of that, we typically drink less during work and eat less just so we have less bathroom breaks. Kind of a weird job, but one thing that motivates me to drink more water is, when you use the bathroom, if you notice that your urine is dark colored or maybe especially yellow, unless you're taking extra vitamins like vitamin B and vitamin C, which can color your urine that color, if you use the bathroom and you see it's not light yellow, that is an automatic kind of a flag that lets you know that your body you may be a little bit dehydrated. And so if I see that color, I'm like, oh man, and I'll go ahead and drink a pint of water, just like that. And you know, and I know people use the bathroom several times a day, hopefully. And so just looking at that can maybe give you a little bit of prompting to drink more water in case you haven't, been doing it as much as you could.
Yeah, I was looking for like a meme to put in here, and some of them were kind of crude, so I didn't want to put them here. But one of them was funny. It was like, drinking water really helps your life quality. You don't have to deal with all the drama around you because you're always in the bathroom peeing. And I'm like, okay, good point. So if you work at a workplace with a lot of drama, just drink a lot of water and you don't even have time to deal with it. So according to this chart, which I think is actually on the low end, it kind of outlines how much you should be drinking per body weight. But they actually recommend drinking more if you exercise a lot or if you're in the heat a lot. And quite frankly, like what my brother and several of you stated, if you want to fight cancer, bladder cancer, colon cancer, even heart disease, just drink more water. I suppose it is possible to drink too much to flush out your electrolytes, but honestly, that's probably so rare. I don't even know anyone personally that happens to. So to give you an example of how much water I drank, I don't even know. I think it's more than 1.5 gallons a day. I know that sounds excessive, but I start chugging the minute I get up. After my brain surgery, I think I'm still breathing through my mouth, so I always have dry mouth, and I always have like the taste of like, I don't know, like metal. I guess it's like that residual blood, and I still have the taste of metal, so my mouth always like tastes funny. So something that helps alleviate that is just drinking a lot of water. I don't really drink anything else. I mean, I have smoothies for one of my meal, but everything else is water. And the funny thing is I cannot pass a drug test. So if I volunteer to work for an agency, of course, they ask you to take a drug test and they always find it suspicious. They make me retake it again because there's so much water in it. They think that I must have done something to it because I'm trying to hide something. And clearly I'm not. I just drink so much water that if I need to, I really can't pass a drug test. But I guess that's a good problem to have. So I don't know how much I drank, but I do drink a lot, particularly since I'm in Florida. And I think I've drank more after the surgery and after I have that funny taste in my mouth. So question for you guys is, what are some easy ways to get it in during the day? For some people like me, it's easy, but what do you suggest?
I know some people will put like fruit in their water so that they have infused water. So you have like a little hint of fruit, whether it's lime or strawberries or whatever it might be. And then that helps to make it taste less plain or less bland, because I know the blandness for some people is a turnoff.
I purchased lemon water, and it's easier to drink lemon water than it is to drink regular plain old water.
I know people who really don't like water, and they will do like iced herbal teas. And I love lemon water or lime water. That's my favorite. But everything people have said, you can add flavors. You can add basil. You can add mint. I've even seen parsley. Um, Things you might see at spas or like hotels. You can pretty much add any kind of flavors to it if you have a big problem with it.
It's good.
That's kind of how I drink. I don't know if I would say drink water, but I make like a lot of herbal teas, like with apple, cinnamon, or pineapple peel, like just a lot of different things, so that I'm not wasting anything at home. And so I don't know if that counts as water intake. It's more of a tea, but I guess it's flavored water at the same time. So that kind of helps my like overall liquid intake for the day. So if that counts, just drinking a lot of like herbal teas or flavored water.
Everything I've read says that does count. And even if you eat extra fruits and vegetables, a lot of natural foods have natural water content, even if you're chewing it. And so more fruits and vegetables means you're better hydrated as well.
That's really good to know. I appreciate that because I was wondering if I was getting enough water because I drink a lot of tea throughout the day. Like I drink tea in the morning and then I'll drink tea before bed. So I was like, am I drinking enough water? But I don't want to overdo it. So that's good information to know that that does count.
Nice. Yeah, it does.
Can anybody see this jug of water I'm trying to hold up?
You read my mind, Mom. I was just going to share about that. You share, and you have a visual. That's awesome.
I bought this because I work as a nurse, and they used to let us keep water at the nurses station, but then of course they made that a no-no. And so you have to put your water in a separate room. But we're so busy at work that you don't have time to take 5 giant steps to go to this back room to get your water. So I just found that I was just had a headache. I was more unsettled during the day, and I attributed it to not drinking enough water. So I bought this thing and I fill it up, and it takes 11 cups. And when it's gone, it's gone. So when I'm home, a lot of times this is gone by like 11 o'clock in the morning. And other days, if I'm at work and I'm just getting lazy, I can look and I've had maybe 2 cups. And it just encourages me to hurry up and finish drinking it before I leave work. To me, I fill it up even while I'm at work or if I'm at home, because it just keeps me focused on make sure I drink enough. So I would encourage people to get one. The downside is you got to carry it around with you, but it's worth it because you're drinking the water.
If I may add something, I've definitely been dehydrated back and forth for a long time, depending on what I get distracted with. And I think, at least I can speak for myself, your body tends to adjust to lower water intake. And so I thought it was the weirdest thing that when I tried to drink more water intentionally, that after a couple of days, I would find myself getting thirstier more often, even though I was drinking more water. And I think that was my body was going back to its optimal state of, taking in 2 or 3 quarts of water a day as compared to less than 1 quart. And so some people may find that as you drink more water, you feel thirsty and you may want to drink more water. And if you feel thirsty, as long as you don't have certain health conditions, you should always drink more water because that's a sign that you are a little bit dehydrated. And so as if people are going from drinking like 1 quart a day and lots of salt and alcohol or diuretics and coffee and other caffeine, if you transition away from that, you may find yourself drinking more water and you're still getting thirsty, but that's kind of a good thing.
Yeah, you brought up a good point about alcohol and coffee being diuretics because apparently, according to this little pamphlet I have, thank you, Brenda. Brenda gave this pamphlet to me. It's New Start and it has the 8 laws of health. So if you see her at the Fort Myers Church, ask her for one because she graciously gave one to me. But it mentions on here that be careful if you drink alcohol or caffeine because it actually causes your body to lose more water, and you need an extra glass of water for every high sugar, caffeine, or alcoholic beverage you drink. And obviously, it's best if we don't drink any of those. So abstinence is always best, but if for some reason you are having a soda or a coffee, drink extra water because your body is actually losing water as a result.
Yeah.
I just close the computer, so it dies.
Just a sec.
But if I power it off.
All right, so I'm going to go to the next slide here. Tips for staying hydrated. You guys already mentioned several great tips about staying hydrated, but drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning. Some people, this makes them nauseous, but you could get used to it. Maybe you have to start with like half a cup or something, but for most people, drinking a glass first thing helps you. I'm not an app person, but a lot of people like to set reminders on their phone, or they like to use their apps to remind them. Preparing a jug of cold water in the fridge. Like what we talked about, cold water is actually bad for you. It's better than alcohol, of course. It's better than coffee, but it causes a lot of energy a lot of blood flow to be rushed to your stomach to digest it. So actually, I've seen people just have a jug of room temperature water on the counter, and they can easily drink their water that way. I'm drinking herbal teas like Dietrich, like Shakira mentioned. Elaine mentioned adding some lemon to your water. Recently, I've been actually putting entire lemons. Well, we actually have a lime tree in our backyard. Nothing is sprayed on it, it's organic. So I'll put an entire lime in my smoothie. And it's really strong, it's really potent, but I include the peel because apparently the peel has a lot of antioxidants in it. So I don't want to miss out on those. But most people aren't keen on eating the peel. So even just squeezing the juice in your water is going to help. Carbonated water can be bad for your teeth, but compared to alcohol, compared to caffeine, it's a lesser evil, but if possible, regular water. But if you're going to drink carbonated water, like I do sometimes, just rinse your mouth out afterwards. That way that acid doesn't sit on your teeth. Always carry a water bottle everywhere. I carry 3 water bottles. I know that's extreme, but I have these like little reusable baggies that Brenda gave to me. They have like animals on them. And I just carry my water bottles. I fill them up multiple times. The funny thing is, I used to drink out of a cheap water jug, the dollar ones you get at Publix, because I drink so much water. And one time I heard the kids talking at school, and they said, we thought we saw Mrs. Perry driving the road, but we weren't sure if it was her. But at a stoplight, we saw her pick up her jug and drink from it. Then we knew it was her. And I was like, whoa, maybe I should get a regular water bottle so I'm not identified by this huge jug. So now I carry regular water bottles with me. People take a glass of water to bed with them at night. I'll be up all night if I do that, but I don't do that. But some people do. My sister just got me this magnesium from Hawaii, and you can just squeeze a little dropper in it, and it's supposed to help you sleep. So there's a lot of different things you could do. Shakira just sent me this recipe for like a turmeric drink, and it helps with sleep as well. Shakira, do you mind sharing a little bit about like what's in the tea, what's in the drink?
Yeah, sure. It's I think my camera's a little blurry, but there's 3/4 of a teaspoon of turmeric, a quarter teaspoon of ginger. I think that nutmeg you're really supposed to go really light on. I think it's like a quarter teaspoon or like a half teaspoon, maybe a quarter teaspoon of nutmeg. And then 2 cups of almond milk and like a dash of cinnamon and a teaspoon of vanilla. So it's supposed to help with, I think that's all. And then I think 2 cinnamon sticks as well, but it's supposed to help with sleep. And I found that for me, it does help with sleep because nutmeg has whatever properties are in nutmeg are really good for sleep. But that's all that's in it, and it's called golden milk. So if anyone is looking for like variations of the recipe, you can find it online, and it should help hopefully for you to sleep or relax.
Also, melatonin is good for sleep as well. And there's many different forms that it comes in. It comes in soft chews, gummies, just any different type of way that you'd like to take it. It's available, and I usually get mine on Amazon.
MMLT.
Hey, if I may add something, and this is not to counter anything that you guys have just recommended, but some people who may have difficulty sleeping or may have kind of a sensitive bladder, I've read that it's recommended for people like that. Some people may not drink any very much within 1 to 2 hours before going to bed if you have trouble getting up at night multiple times. If you don't have that problem,
right there. Yeah.
those things. But if you do, I've read from seemingly, well-researched physicians that some people may not drink as much before they go to bed, and they just pick it up in the morning, in the afternoon.
Hey, question for you though. How do you split up your melatonin? Because when I was taking the supplement before I went to sleep, it didn't really help me. But then I bought these, like, you know how the Listerine strips, you just put them on your tongue for fresh breath? Well, they have melatonin strips. Those are really awesome. I only save them when I need them, but those work great. But I know you split your melatonin and you take it like earlier in the evening. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We usually,
Sure.
I take melatonin in a gummy, and I usually take it about a half hour before I go to sleep. And I was trying to figure out what's the best dosage because I have sleep issues, and I started out at the lowest dose, and now I think I pretty much have a higher dose, which is available to me. But the other thing that I like, and many of you may object to this, but I like the CBD, which is also comes with melatonin, and it helps me to sleep, and it helps get rid of the severe pain that I have. And it's a natural, so I don't know.
I mean, I have a little bit of input on that. I think melatonin, from what I've read, doesn't necessarily have any detrimental effects to your body. You can increase your melatonin production simply by drinking water, eating healthy, exercising, and not eating late at night, and your body will produce it naturally. But some people still feel the need to take, sleeping medications or melatonin before they go to bed. And, the one from I've read a lot about sleep issues because I have them, but, not to rain on anything. A lot of medications, if that you may buy on Amazon or over at the pharmacy section, sometimes they're not, a lot of vitamins and non-regulated medications. You don't really know what's the purity of it, and sometimes there's extra. I don't want to say toxins, but extra things like that are in in the things. So I think ideally you don't necessarily need to take them. You can control your melatonin production without taking a pill. But if you need to take that, I've heard a lot of good things about CBD, but it's really difficult to regulate the purity of it. At the same time, I've tried these things out on myself, and I don't know if Ashley was alluding to this, but I told her about this several times. It's called the melatonin cascade effect, and you're if you introduce a very small amount of melatonin into your body several hours before you go to sleep, it sort of triggers your brain to start producing it, and so that before you go to bed, you will feel sleepier. And I can definitely say, from a subjective standpoint, this has worked for me. You would have to read about it. It's called the melatonin cascade effect. But I think I would take a 1 milligram tablet, which is a tiny dose compared to some people take 10 milligrams or more, or 10 units. I would take a 1 milligram tablet, cut it either in half or in quarters, and take a quarter melatonin tablet like at 7 p.m. And then it triggers my brain to produce melatonin naturally. And then within, by the time I go to bed at 10, my body will have a kind of more natural melatonin before I go to sleep. You can counter that. I don't want to confuse anybody. If you eat food, you can kind of cancel out. If you do kind of excitable activities, whether you're watching something exciting or you're exercising, you may overrule that effect. But sometimes if you just take a tiny crumb, you cut your one pill, into quarters and take a quarter tablet 2 or 3 hours before you go to bed. Sometimes that's all people need. But at the same time, I've heard for the most part melatonin is pretty good, but optimally in an optimal situation, you can have your body. You can study how melatonin is made within your body, and have your body produce it on its own.
Well, as a registered nurse, I know that the FDA doesn't regulate a lot of the vitamins and minerals, certainly doesn't regulate CBD or the melatonin. But I have a good company that's been highly recommended to me by a physician. So that's what I use, and it works really well because they print out exactly what's in the gummy or whatever you're taking, and I feel a lot more comfortable than just using any type of company that makes CBD.
I would agree with you on that one, and I wish I could have more specific information for people right now, but there are websites and things that study certain brands, and they will say, there's Nature Valley, at Walmart. They'll compare that one towards a bunch of ones that you may see in Amazon. And some people will be surprised to find that certain brands will have more like arsenic in it and things like that compared to other ones. And if yours has been recommended to you and it's had good things to say about it, that does mean a lot in the unregulated market for things. So I think that's considering all the things you could be taking before you go to bed, that sounds like ideal. But just picking up a random bottle, technically you are taking a risk. And so technically you can look at your brand online and see if it has good things to say about it versus other brands. And it sounds like you've done your due diligence and it seems to work for you, and that's kind of what matters. But I think, not all brands are necessarily.
Well, the name of the company is called Proleve, Proleve, and it's based out of Tampa. And all I can say is good things about the company and the products they offer. Again, it's Proleve, Proleve, and you get a delivery within 3 days. If you live in Florida, they give you some really good discounts, and I like the quality of their product.
That sounds great. I take melatonin sometimes too. That sounds great.
In the last few minutes or so, we'll just delve right into like alternative uses of water, because as we know, it cleanses us, it helps flush out the toxins, it relaxes us, it can also energize us. It's interesting how water can like wake us up, but it can also put us to sleep. God knew exactly what he was doing when he created it to our benefit. But this is just hot versus cold therapy. A lot of people don't know, like, when do I use a hot compress? When do I use a cold compress? When is a hot bath good? When is a cold bath good? So hopefully this handy little chart will help you, anytime that you're looking to like prevent colds or to energize the mind, even tighten the skin, cold therapy is best. But if you're looking to relax the muscles, lower body tension, alleviate a migraine, hot therapy is also best in that situation. And this could also be, used in water as well, because even the Greeks and especially the Romans, they used to use a lot of hot cold therapies to great advantage. And if they were using it 2000 something years ago and there were no negative side effects, I think it's something that maybe we need to start using more, because Western medicine unfortunately kind of throws this out the window and they recommend medication. And not that medication is necessarily wrong if you truly do need it, but there's a lot of maybe Eastern medicines or basically, older therapies that have been around for thousands of years that actually could have great benefit as well.
Amen.
So if you look on the side here, hot, cold showers. I hate them. I do hate them so much. I can't get to the cold shower part. I can get to the hot shower, just not the cold shower. And I blame it on the fact that I'm in Florida. The water doesn't really get cold anyways. So at this time, I'm unable to do hot, cold showers. But I know they're good for me. I know a lot of people in here do them. And especially if you're in Michigan, that water is pretty cold. So maybe some of you guys could share if you do hot, cold showers, if you do hot, cold treatments, what's your experience? What are some tips you have for us?
I have a few things to say on this. Um, so we had I know Dr. John Kelly has worked with some people over in the Fort Myers church pretty closely, and I don't know if anybody recognizes his name, but he works with a lot of the Adventist kind of lifestyle type medicine. And up here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, he him and his wife and several others came up and they did a was it a 15-16 day program on basically dietary modifications as well as hydrotherapy. And they did their they recommend blood tests for all of us. They would check our vital signs every time. They would take blood cholesterol, blood sugar, a lot of these tests before and afterwards. And then it was miraculous, to be honest, how much they improved over just a simple 15 to 17 day period. My cholesterol dropped by a total of 70 points, and it wasn't even that high. It was a little bit high. And my blood pressure went down from normal, or not normal. It went back down from a little bit elevated to normal. And there are some people that were affected even more than me. And this was mostly just going to a plant-based diet with mild exercise and hydrotherapy treatments. and 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 100% sure how much of it's contributed to diet versus hydrotherapy. I know most of it's diet, but they did hydrotherapy of all types. I could talk about this for a long time, but it was taught to us that hot and cold treatments, Ellen White and all the sanitariums in early beginning Adventist history, I think it was given to them by God as a method of healthcare that people don't always realize, even to this day. But from what it was taught to us and from what I've read about on my own, hot and cold therapies can truly boost your metabolism, and it can decrease inflammation, and the main thing is it increases circulation throughout your body. All of this stuff will can help in healing of all types. Increased circulation, most of our body functions need increased circulation, and by introducing short periods of cold with longer periods of hot or warm, I've only heard good things about it. And the best thing about it is it's almost no risk to it. I could go into this for a long time, but I thought it was pretty cool how we did hot and cold treatments the whole time during our 15 or 17 days program. And people who had ankle problems, gout, arthritis, a lot of respiratory, coughing, congestion, A lot of these seem to improve these symptoms and maybe shorten your recovery period. But yeah, it's a lot of good stuff. It's not always easy to get into, but at the same time, a lot of it's not that uncomfortable. You don't need to go to straight cold and sit there. A lot of it is just 3 minutes hot shower and then 30 seconds of going as cold as you can tolerate. That's the ideal way. And there was different types of treatments depending on a lot of things, but I was pretty impressed as to how much it helped. And I know it's history of hot and cold treatments. It was super effective in kind of the sanitariums in the early 1900s when combating Spanish flu, like when it killed hundreds of thousands of people or more, and all these things. Hot and cold, it seems to increase your circulation to a point where it saved people's lives, in many cases.
I actually enjoy doing hot Epsom salt baths, and also often with some essential oils. But with the size of the bathtub we have here, only about half my body can be in the hot water at any one time. So it's sort of a contrast bath in that way. You kind of get the hot and cold, and I switch back and forth between my upper body and my lower body, submerged in the hot water. And I find it really helps with relaxing your muscles, with recovery from exercise, with better sleep. It's really very beneficial.
I don't doubt. Sounds great.
Yeah, Greg.
I've heard that the hot and cold shower is something that you shouldn't do at night, like when you're trying to wind down. I don't know if that's true, but I just do it in the morning when I'm going to work, so I'm obviously more alert as opposed to at night when I'm trying to wind down.
Yeah, me too.
I've felt that, and I've read about it too. They say that hot and cold treatments can, especially the cold part, can stimulate, a lot of good things, but it can also wake you up. It can increase your norepinephrine, which is something that it's kind of an adrenaline. It's like adrenaline, and so doing it for bed isn't always a great idea. And but at the same time, typically doing it earlier in the day, I've heard that that's kind of the ideal time to do those types of things. There's a lot of levels. They say hot and cold immersion is kind of the ideal hot and cold situation because it's kind of the extreme. You get your warmest and you get your coldest by going from hot to cold. And so doing it before bed, I've taken ice baths before bed, and I wondered why I was wired until midnight. And I learned it the hard way that, these things can really wake you up. It's, some of the studies that I was looking at recently shows that, the hot and cold alternation can decrease your cortisol. So it decreases your stress hormone. It increases your norepinephrine, which increases your kind of awake hormone, which isn't always bad, but before bed, it's not always helpful. Ultimately, hot and cold, I think they say it's kind of like a push and a pull on your circulation. And so, when you are in hot water or warm water, your blood vessels dilate, that get bigger, which tends to decrease your blood pressure and these things. But then as you go to cold, it constricts it. And so those two types of things increase circulation, whether you have neuropathy or you have a muscle injury or these things, all of these things. I mean, I think the study that I was reading on just shoulder injuries showed that hot and cold therapy to people's injured shoulders or arms increase their circulation by like 156%. And so there is definitely it brings the blood is a vehicle for your white blood cells, your recovery, your nutrients getting to your injured areas, and so increased circulation is always good. At the same time, doing it before bed isn't always ideal, but as we went with our program, and I'm still learning about these things, they say there are more mild hot and cold treatments that you can do before bed that won't necessarily wake you up, but they can still, I could talk about this for a long time. Sometimes they say before you go to bed, simply taking a lukewarm like bath, if you have a lot of anxiety or you feel like you have a lot of stimuli coming in, and you can't shut your brain off, they actually recommended a lukewarm bath or even shower, and those types of things are good for decreasing anxiety or sleep restlessness. But then if you are looking to counteract maybe like the flu or sometimes muscle injuries or arthritis, the hot and cold, much more hotter, much more colder will help those things depending on what you're trying to do. And there's a lot of different ways you can do these things. Like I said, you could talk forever about it. There's a lot to be you can read about it, but it's a super cool, I would say, medical intervention that they don't talk about in the hospital.
Awesome. Well, it's 7:03, so I won't hold you guys, but I wanted to say I'll send you the recipe for the golden milk that Shakira recommended. And Dr. Eric Walsh has an excellent sermon on water and the science behind water and how it can benefit you spiritually. It's a very good sermon, one of the best. So I'll actually send that out to you afterwards as well. And if any of you guys have any resources you'd like me to share to the group, just send the email my way, and either tonight or tomorrow morning, I'll send them out to the group. But without further ado, I will close in prayer because I know that we're a time-conscious group, and I don't want you to get nervous that I'm going to keep you here for another half hour or so. So I'm going to close in prayer. Dear Jesus, thank you so much for everyone in this group. Thank you so much for laying the burden of health upon us. But it's not even a burden, Lord. It's a precious privilege where we can not only enjoy heaven, but we can enjoy life right now if we abide by the 8 laws of health. So please be with all of us. And this week in particular, let us focus more on water. You are the ultimate water of life. So let us just quench our thirst in you. Let us spend more time with you. Let us crave you more, because we will be satisfied forever. But also, please help us to look at what we eat, what we drink, how we sleep. Help us to make some much needed changes so that everything we do honors and glorifies you. We ask that you especially be with the evangelistic series at the Fort Myers Church this week. Please bless the speaker and the people attending. We know there's many unmentioned prayer requests. I know that there's many mothers praying for their children. There's many children who are praying for their siblings. There's many people praying for their coworkers. So I ask that you please, Lord, answer these prayers, and please let these individuals come to know you as their Lord and Savior. In your precious and holy name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Good night. Thanks for coming out, everyone.
Hey, Craig, can I ask you a question?
Craig? What? Yes.
On the Epsom salt baths, did you stop the recording?
No, I don't know how to stop it.
All right.
You can keep asking. You can keep talking. I don't see anything about recording.
Okay. Have you looked at the different types of Epsom salts and stuff? I know that I looked at kind of more the magnesium type stuff. Is that what you look for when you look for them?
Well, Epsom salts, real Epsom salts should be magnesium. I believe they're magnesium sulfate, maybe.
Right. And nowadays there's so many companies marketing them with those bath bombs and all those things. And I was just wondering, you just buy pure Epsom salt, right?
Yes. I mean, I found some ones where they put, some essential oils or other things in, and it's nice, but that usually becomes very expensive when you buy it that way. I go to Costco and they have like a big box that has, I think, 2 8-pound bags. And it's pretty cheap. It's like 11 or $12, I think. It's a great buy. And then I add my own essential oils.
Great. And what's the ratio too? Because I remember I read one time on a bag, and it was quite a bit of salt that you need. Do you remember what do you put for one?
I put probably at least a cup,
Okay.
sometimes more.
Right.
If I'm really sore, I might put more.
Got you. Yep. Okay. That's what I thought. And I just wanted to run that by you.
And I try to get the water nice and hot, not to scald, but as hot as I can tolerate.
Great. And have you ever tried magnesium spray?
Yes, I use magnesium oil.
Yes. Yes.
Which is magnesium sulfide, I believe. It's a different form of magnesium, but you spray it on your skin. And that's one of the best forms. The magnesium sulfate in the Epsom salts, that gives you excellent immediate relief, but it's very short-lived. Your body uses it up. The one in the spray, the magnesium oil, it bioaccumulates in your blood, and it actually helps to build up your magnesium levels.
But be careful with that, because a lot of people are sensitive to that, and you can end up with a lot of skin issues by using it, so I would say caution on that.
Yeah, I agree. You can, it often recommends to put it under your feet, and because you absorb it better into your bloodstream, but because it's a salt, it's magnesium sulfide, it will actually it's actually a benefit, but temporarily the dead skin cells on the bottom of your feet are gonna peel off. So your feet will peel, but it won't take away all your skin. You'll get beautiful, like baby-like skin underneath once it's over, but you might have 2 or 3 weeks where it's kind of unsightly.
Well, a lot of people
put it
have
under your feet. You also want to avoid you don't want to put it on your armpits or your groin or anywhere sensitive.
You can also end up with a lot of allergies to your skin and a lot of problems. I've been there, done that, and don't want it.
I put it on my lower back and my shoulders every day because I'm sore, and I personally find it really helps. But yes, some people may be sensitive. You do need to be careful.
Great.
Have you tried magnesium L-threonate? That would be magnesium with an L and then THEORNATE. The dosage is 2,200 milligrams, but it's not like other magnesiums. It does not cause diarrhea, but it relaxes muscles and gives you a lot of pain relief for a lot of issues in your body.
I actually take a supplement as well that's called Magnesium Breakthrough, and it has 7 different forms of magnesium in it. It definitely doesn't, cause stomach problems either, at least for me.
I've been asked by a couple of physicians to do a paper on the magnesium L-threonate and how it's helped me over the years, and I just haven't got to the point of writing that issue for them.
Hey, man.
Well, thank you both so much for sharing.
Jesus.
Yeah, Dietrich, would you like to share something?
Amazing. On the topic of magnesium, I can't say I know a thing about topical magnesium. I'm gonna have to look into that. Sounds cool. As far as the supplements, the pills that people take, if you see magnesium citrate with a C, that's going to be used for constipation. People will have loose stools if they take that one. And I think they say magnesium oxide, which I give to patients a lot of times in the past in the hospital. That's good for bones and things. Your body may not absorb it as much. The one I take a pill for relaxation sometimes, a magnesium glycinate or glycinate with a G. And I know that between glycinate, oxide, and citrate, I like glycinate. but these other ones that you guys have talked about, it's kind of new information for me, and I don't know a thing about. But if you stay, magnesium citrate will make you sit in the toilet for longer than you may care to sometimes.
That's true.
Dietrich,
Try
is this
that
the
new
one?
try that new magnesium that I was talking about, and I think that you'd find it has a lot of benefits that a lot of people are not aware of.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up right away. What was that bottle you just showed me, Jeff?
Just the one that you recommend?
High absorption, um, glycinate. It looks. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a combination of magnesium. And I only read the things about it that me and read that, but it looks like that's a combination of magnesium, which my first impression of that is it's good, but you know, like we talked about earlier, you know, some brands are better than others. But yeah, there's a lot of, it says chelated on there, which supposedly helps with digestion and absorption. Um, but I think yours is a combination there, which, you know, I think I have one in the cabinet, you know, and ancient, you know, I love magnesium because it helps with anxiety, and I like it for sleep. We give it at the hospitals, IV, and for, you know, muscle spasms and sometimes seizures and obviously heart conditions sometimes. Um, but you know, not all magnesium is created equal. So if you're thinking about taking it, I would definitely read about it. And it sounds like several people here are well read on that.
Yes, thank you, Dietrich. Thank you, Elaine. I really appreciate your input.
Have a blessed evening.
You too. Let's go drink some water, and everyone have a good night. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks.
Storing. Hey, what's up, brother?
Is it just us now?
I think so. Hold on, make sure there's no creepers.
You guys are still you're being recorded. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us. This is my husband and my brother-in-law. So I'm going to stop the recording so they can talk freely. Have a good night, everyone.